Stream is updated. Hello, everyone, and let me just get ready real quick. Welcome to the 6th episode of the live stream. I'm here with my special guest, the Unraveled Angel, to talk about his experience doing World War One Airsoft in the UK.
Hello there. Nice to be here. Cheers.
Thanks for joining me.
So, hi. For those who don't know me, my beer's overflowing. If you don't know me, I'm the Unraveled Angel on Instagram. I'm the second in command of a British airsoft group, World War One Airsoft group called the 1st Battalion Boys. We portray the fictional unit from Blackadder Goes Forth, and we recently had an event just a couple of weeks ago in the UK, which was our first proper World War One skirmish event.
So how'd that eventually play out? I know you guys have been planning it for a while, and then COVID decided to destroy everything.
So, honestly, I think with all the COVID stuff, it could have gone a lot worse. This was our third full-fledged event as the 1st Battalion. Our first was Operation Archangel, which was August 2019. We had the 1924 post-apocalyptic game earlier this year in May, I think. No, it must be later May. I can't remember right now. And of course, this one recently. So the last game was, since we are a LARPsoft group primarily, we were trying to bridge the gap between reenactment, LARP, and airsoft. The last game was to more of as proof of concept for the role play, the factions, like team, like personal and team quests, that kind of thing. So the more role play aspects. This time is more game mechanics, like the gas masks, and how it actually all plays together as an airsoft game in practical terms. So yeah.
That's pretty cool. Just making sure that everything works together.
Yes. It was...
Yeah.
I'd say it was really just an amazing experience, considering we had about 8 German players, and then we had about 9 or 10 on top, including a Russian and 2 French guys in their full Horizon Blues, which was just...
That's so cool.
It was so good. Just, I've
got to...
Yeah.
I've got to figure out a way to get that type of uniform myself.
Yeah, exactly.
The Horizon Blues.
Yeah, I actually almost went for a French kit, and then last second decided to go German instead, and I'm happy I did. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting into French because I like the German stuff, but I'm like nearing the end of building my kit, and I'm like, what else do I do? And American, British, they're a little bit overdone. Russian is a little bit too difficult to get. And even then, I feel like there's more people who do Russian reenacting than French reenacting. So I figured
I reckon French is rather underrepresented, unless
especially since it works for me, since I do a Western front impression, and so it works a little better with what I generally do. So yeah, it's just the difficulty of finding those uniforms.
Exactly, yeah. Unless you're Owen Wallace, and then you just do whatever you want. Or what was his name? Oggy, the great random shout out, the great war reenactor who has like every impression known to man. I'm like, how do you own this many uniforms?
So apparently he buys like multiple reproduction uniforms for German in like various nations, and he just customizes the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And he'll find like stuff at thrift stores, and he'll just buy it and modify it, and kind of like in the same way Matthew, uniform collector, the same way he does it.
Matt, yes. Whose German tunic, which looks fucking great by the way, is actually a Swiss tunic, I believe. I believe it's Swiss.
Yeah, I think he's got one that's Swiss and then one that's Swedish. I think I remember him talking to him about it, just like how he's modified those because it was just cheaper at the time to do that than to buy an actual reproduction.
It's a little bit more noticeable if you look at the cuffs and under the arms, because obviously these just not felt, they're wool. But he's got canvas, like the section on this canvas for ventilation and movement stuff. And of course the cuffs don't have I don't know what that kind of cuff's called. I need to do more research, admittedly.
I think these are called Swedish cuffs. That might be for the
Ironic.
M15, but I think these are the Swedish ones.
Right.
So yeah, it's just really interesting what he's been able to do.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I keep seeing pictures of you guys' event, and it looks super cool. I wish.
It was amazing. Yeah.
I hope that one day I'm able to get over there.
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. It was the amount of photographers that turned up, and I kept being like, man, man, all this is wonderful. I'm like, but they had a brass band. We came in there, they were like, oh no, you can't come in. And we're like, what's going on? We walked in, and there were guys dressed in 1910s clothes with a brass band. I'm like, I'm looking at everyone here.
That's so cool.
Uniform. Are we a big deal?
We made it?
We went from exactly. Third member last year. It was me, Jack, and his mate Howard, who is now still our sergeant, British sergeant, and it's like it went from that in last year to 50+ guys, ranging everything from Austro-Hungarian to French to British, obviously, and Russian, and you just go, oh my god, where did this come from in like that?
Yeah.
Like, what? And now I've got like kits for both teams, and it's like, wow, you know, yeah. Just the amount of photographers that turned up was amazing. It was also
that sounds super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to especially like my experiences here, where our World War I events are literally 5 of us, 6 of us get together in our own uniforms, and we just pull out our airsoft guns and we go at it. I mean, we got World War II 9th SS, we've got World War II various Wehrmacht or Africa Corps, we've got World War I, the 17th, of course. So it's just this huge variation. No allied guys at all. It's just the Germans, which is a little bit different than what I've seen normally, which is there's more allied than there are the Germans in most cases.
Yeah, honestly, in the UK, I see an overwhelming amount of American impressions and German, specifically SS.
That's so weird.
A little bit weird, but there's hundreds of more American impressions than there are British. Because I'm part of a UK World
That's so odd.
group, as well as World One, and you just look at it and go, does no one want to represent the country you're in? Like,
yeah, that's because I think
I blame like movies and like Saving Private Ryan, that because there's an overabundance of World War II.
People need to watch movies like A Bridge Too Far more. You know, we need to watch the British point of view on that.
Yes,
they need to stop watching Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
But
the amount of Airborne impressions I see is, oh, it's Band of Brothers. Yeah, we get it. Thank you.
Yeah, we get it. You're part of the Airborne. Like,
exactly.
Wow. Wow, so unique.
Exactly.
But it kind of takes out the immersion when like 90% of the people in the reenactment are all airborne guys when they represented such a small portion of the actual fort.
Proportionally, you just go, this isn't right, mate. But,
it's like why is there like a couple 5th like armored division guys and everyone else is 101st Division airborne? But
that sounds right.
As I thought the majority of people in the United States were American reenactors because America and everyone's super uber patriotic here. So you have like the two like you have the two extremes. You have the super uber patriots who just reenact the 101st, who are LARP boys who don't really care about all that. You know, the whole stereotype of 101st people are invincible because they never call their hits in traditional reenactment where blanks are used. And then you have the flip side of that where they're also super patriotic, but they're those types where they're almost closeted neo-Nazis. They're in all the German gear. They'll say those different words where you're like, interesting. Yeah. The typical phrases are stuff like, not all the Jews. There would have been less deaths in the concentration camps if the bombing raids didn't happen. I'm just saying. You get those types of people on the flip side. And so it's like, oh my God.
Speaking of neo-Nazis, I don't know. I think I've mentioned this on a live stream when we were doing our live streams earlier in lockdown. I don't know if that's one I did with you, but I was actually almost recruited, or someone tried to recruit me into a British neo-Nazi association.
I don't remember you talking to me about that. I don't even remember hearing about that. That's very interesting.
So this is 2 years ago when I was in college. I was just sitting there on my phone looking through memes or looking at airsoft, whatever I do. And this guy, I won't mention his name or anything, even though he probably won't be looking at this, but he just came and sat down to me. He's like, hey, Henry. And I was like, yeah. He's like, so I know you're like wearing that. Sorry, I used to own a cap that looked like an M43 field cap.
Yeah.
It was from Miltech or just one of these random companies, and it looked a bit like an M33. And he called it the Wehrmacht cap. I'm like, dude, it's made in France. Shut up. He was like, so I know you wear the cap. I know you like history. I'm like, yes. He was like, so I'm part of the society, and he pulls up his phone, and it's already loaded with the wiki page of a Union Jack with the Nazi swastika in it. And I go, oh Jesus Christ! And you just go, why did you? What? Like, you just can't comprehend that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god. Luckily, he was removed from the college for trying to recruit other people to be Nazis.
Yeah,
so,
that's a special kind of stupid. See,
yeah.
So I'm part of the group chat for the 9th SS Airsoft group that's here in California, and we'll continually like find people who are very racist and like borderline neo-Nazis, and we'll just brigade them and just wipe them out, mass report their Instagram, or if it's on Facebook, we'll mass report them on Facebook, just because it's like, why are you even like doing that? One of our members, he's I don't want to I don't know exactly where he is, where his lineage is from, but it's somewhere in the Pacific Islands or Japan or whatnot. And he has a Wehrmacht impression. And so during one of the campouts, one of the guys brought out his camera and he was taking some pictures, and he made these pretty cool Signal magazine covers with some editing. You might have seen a couple if you follow the old 12th SS page. We renamed it to 9th SS because 9th SS is less controversial. I can't hear you anymore. You're muted now. Oh. All right, I'm going to have to modify it just a little bit. Give me just 1 second. And then I will be right back when he joins again. Give me one moment here. We're having some technical difficulties. Just looking over there for when he joins again. And we'll get right back to it. All that good stuff. Give me one moment. So how is everyone else doing? Thank you guys for tuning in and watching this. For all those who are watching, I'm going to grab my phone real quick and just make sure he's not having too much trouble, so we don't have to delay this any further. I'll be right back. Stay tuned for more. Oh, there we go. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and add you to it.
Sorry.
And I'll be right back.
So my phone is linked to my iPad, which I'm using this because I don't have a PC. And the call interrupted this, and then it all went bad. So I'm just going to drink more beer now.
And we're back. All right.
Sorry about that, everyone.
It's all good.
Okay.
I saw you touch I saw you mess with your phone a little bit. Then I stopped hearing you, and I was like,
Yeah, sorry, my phone. My phone's linked to my iPad, and it all went bad.
It just kind of screwed everything up.
Yeah.
So, like I was,
yes.
Saying a little bit, yeah. So he made that little Signal magazine, and it looked pretty cool. Like it was him with this MG42 airsoft, and it was a really cool picture. Well, the picture popped up on FarbFest, the not the douchey PC one. And there was quite a few people.
Sure, yeah, that's not the douchey one. If that's not the douchey one, what does the bad one look like?
I'm part of the one that they apparently branched off of, and there's rarely any posts, and the posts are pretty decent. So I guess a lot of people who got upset because apparently posting about someone's, he's inaccurate because he's not white is not very good to do. And that's a lot of posts in the other FarbFest.
The last time I posted on FarbFest, not the douchey PC one, was the Battlefield 5 cosplay I did, when my SMLE, the front sight is being held on by a green adhesive, and it's just, it's Battlefield 5. It's not accurate to any capacity.
Not at all.
Hey guys, here's the new suppression I'm working on for a really long time. I've put a lot of research and hard work into it. It looks like it. And then the comments just mental. I'm a dip. I'm a head out. Just watch them reel in terror at what I've done.
But yeah, so they were just ripping into his impression,
Yeah.
like, and the basis was he has MP40 pouching and MG42. Those were their main complaints, and it's like, that's all you have, and you're ripping. And the other guys were like, he's Asian. How dare he have a Wehrmacht uniform on?
Sounds
and
okay.
It's like, wow, you're really just dying on that hill, but at least you're dead. So, so it's like I understand the want for accurate impressions, but when you're trying to say that you can't reenact something based off something you can't control,
Yep.
that's when it just goes too far. It's like this.
Yeah, it goes from...
If you want perfect accuracy, the second we get time machines, I will send you right back to Nazi Germany. You can join the Wehrmacht. Like, let's just do that.
More Nazis to really mow down. I mean, you know, the only time good Nazi is a dead Nazi, and I will stand by that.
Exactly. But yeah, it's this really weird thing that happens in the reenactment community where they're so like uptight about very specific things that they shouldn't be uptight about, and it really draws people away, which is good for you guys because you guys get all the people who don't really like the reenactment community for their, you know, tightness on very specific things, which is great because I think that what you guys are doing is excellent because it's giving people a bridge who are building their uniform but aren't really super accurate with it due to it being so
precisely.
So
we are
young of a
very
uniform.
Heavily community driven. We've started putting posts out on our Instagram at @first_battalion_boys. Check it out.
I'll link it in the description as well. Yours and the First Battalion boys.
Cheers. So we started putting out with interviews of our different members after the most recent game, and one of the sections of answers to fill out was why would you recommend it to someone else as part of a recruitment drive? And every single one I've seen so far has been about the community. It's been about the team and the people in it, and how you don't come to this team just for history. You come to it to make friends and meet new people.
Yeah.
And it's the love of history and shooting each other with plastic pellets that brings us together. But it's the First Battalion, one of its core values is to bridge the gap between accuracy and practicality. So, for instance, you look at, any once reenactor can tell you this shit ain't cheap. You know, it's
super expensive,
and it's such a horrible, toxic thing to do to people, to lock them out of honestly such an amazing hobby. And lifestyle and the people and what you learn and the depth of stuff in history. But it's horrible to keep them out of that simply because they don't have enough money. Your finance situation shouldn't dictate what you can learn and experience. So we admittedly do sacrifice some levels of accuracy, such as using modern British No. 2 uniform, which is an officer's uniform, trousers instead of a service dress trousers, or Swiss tunics being converted into an M10 transitional, that kind of thing. And it's just finding the ways that you go, right, this doesn't look too out of place, but also is so much cheaper. For instance, I bought a pair of World War II trousers that we used as a film prop secondhand for £20. I don't know how much it is in dollars, but it's tomato. And I'm sorry, you're gonna hate me for this, but I'm sewing red piping just down the seams of the side of my trousers, and it's not my best sewing, admittedly, but like I don't want to spend £80 just for airsoft on a pair of trousers. I'm sorry, I said what
definitely
I said.
not.
But it's like
definitely not.
Honestly, I think we can get away with it a bit more because we are for airsoft. We're not reenactors. We are an airsoft group at its core. We don't shy away from that. We're not the kind of we're not. So obviously, I know there are some reenactors that use airsoft guns as stand-ins because they might be cheaper than, so like a Kar 98K might be more cheaper to get an airsoft version in the US than an original
exactly
kind of thing.
Especially in the UK too.
Precisely, yeah. because you can get some, yeah, but it's all a bit different over here. But it's all about bridging the gap really and making it this amazing hobby more affordable and accessible to everyone. Because at the end of the day, you're there to have fun and you're there to learn about history. That's what we do. So
yeah, and especially like the difference with the airsoft versus the reenacting is the reenacting and living history people, they commonly go to events where their goal is to show people what it was like, so they need to have that accuracy, spend that extra money to make sure everything looks good. Whereas with airsoft, that isn't the highest priority. The highest priority is making sure that you at least look somewhat similar to what you should be looking like, and that you're having fun, most important.
Yeah. And some people might say that's in poor taste. Obviously, when it comes to reenacting, any reenactor is going to have fun at the events. But it's the fact that airsoft is known more as a game, more than I don't know what you'd call reenacting a hobby. It's a hobby, but like airsoft is a game and it's fundamental. We're not trying to shy away from that, but it is more likely to be called out for being in bad taste when you go, it's just a game and you're making fun of people. We're like, yeah, but also this unit never existed, so up yours.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, so if we're in bad taste, then I'm having such a brain fart. The thing your unit's based off is also in bad taste.
Exactly.
The name escaped me.
Blackadder.
Blackadder. That would be in bad taste too. So it's one of those
shows of all time.
So yeah, I really like what I got into reenacting through airsoft. I started out with a cheap uniform with just a Car 98 airsoft gun I'd used in my World War II impression that I had retired at the time, and I slowly built towards having more of an accurate impression for a 17th Reserve Infantry Regiment Somkampfe of the 5th Battalion. I think 2nd Battalion, 5th Company.
You're saying these things, just.
So yeah, like I slowly did that transition into proper reenacting. So when I see what you guys are doing, I just see that as like, if I had that when I was getting started out, it would have helped me so much more to be involved in a community like that when I first started.
Yeah, I personally, and almost anyone you'll speak to in the 1st Battalion will say, we want to be the people that we wish we had when we started. People come to me asking where I get my uniforms, where to go for. One person asked me, they didn't even care about their uniforms. They want to know where I researched, like things to read. I was like, you don't want to buy, you don't want eBay links. Oh my god,
you want information?
Yeah. There's a lot of people.
You want to learn?
Uniform goods. And I go, what about the history? And they go, huh? You're just gonna go, okay.
I just want to look cool.
Yeah, exactly. No. And that is the sad thing about a lot of this is that people do just want to look cool. And to be fair, it looks kind of badass. Not gonna lie. But it is the balance of learning and the history and that with the uniforms and the playing. And that's, I think, why I personally wouldn't consider us in bad taste, because we're not just having fun off this. It is about respect and it is about history the same way real reenactment is.
More authentic reenactment. Authentic, even though the Germans are all speaking English.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to learn German. I started learning a bit during lockdown.
Same.
I had nothing else to do. And then all I can remember is Hallo, ich heiße Heinrich, wie geht's dir? That is it. So, yeah. I can sing like 3 Eisbrecher songs as well, but that's about it.
Yeah, my whole thing, I was at one point really good at German. This was before my reenactment time. I had wanted to visit Germany and I was getting pretty good at it. And then the trip to Germany fell out. So I was like, and I stopped learning it. And I kicked myself for it still. But yeah.
Exactly.
But
you think,
I had
how good would I be right now? Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, part of the problem was that I didn't have anyone to practice with. I was just trying to speak German without anyone to like talk to who was fluent in it. So it was definitely a little bit more difficult to do that. Oh, but you said with the information, part of the reason why I made my channel was to create the series to talk about reenactment and to get
Have you
people off
watched
on a
those
better
videos
foot.
as you put them up going?
Just sort of like, I wish I had this information when I started so I could
Yeah,
make the same mistakes I did.
yeah,
And I know this is a pet peeve and something that I get annoyed at, and I know I shouldn't be, but I still do. I get people who are part of my Discord who got to my Discord because they watch my channel
yeah,
and they have messaged me and they have said, "Hey, how do we do this?" And I don't want to feel like an asshole when I go off and just link them a video that talks about it.
yeah.
But I'm just like, I literally talk about it in
Yeah.
this video and I
If only
discuss
there
doing
was
that.
a YouTube channel
And
with some videos that
yeah.
explain this. Yeah, like when
and I don't
first
want to do that and be like and be rude about it because like they're asking the question because they legitimately want to know, but at the
Wanna
same
know,
time I
yeah.
can't help but feel like I want to just reach the screen and shake them, being
Go-
like, I have a video.
Yeah, yeah, you've already done it, exactly. It's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I would say I know the feeling, but I don't.
Well, I guess to you it's more like you get people asking like, oh, where'd you get that? And your answer is just eBay.
Yeah, it is.
It'd be
So many times. I even got
it'd be
my
the
entire
same.
service dress on eBay, and I go, so is that Soldier of Fortune or Nestoff? I'm like, eBay, mate.
It's eBay. Oh, can you give me a link? The listing's gone. This is the last
amount
one.
of links, the amount of links I've had to send to people.
Yeah.
I on my phone. I think I lost it because I lost my phone halfway through lockdown and got a new one. I had an entire pre-written list of like titles, options, and links to those different options of things for a German kit, a British kit, and a British officer kit. So people said, "Oh, where'd you get this stuff?" I just go copy paste, done. Because I couldn't, can't be bothered to go copy paste, copy paste.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like I'll get asked where I got certain items on my kit which are authentic, and they'll ask me, "Oh, like I'll be having a discussion with someone and I'll mention, they'll ask me what a certain thing is, like what's authentic on my kit, and I'll list them, and they'll be like, "Oh, where'd you get this?" And it's just like, well, you can't find the same thing. Like this is a unique piece because it's authentic. Anymore. Like I've been asked where I got this right here, my gas mask can, from people who know it's authentic, and I'm like, eBay, and they're like, which seller? And I'm just like, they had one listing.
Yeah,
they don't. If they sold multiples of these, I would have bought every single one of them because it's a great canister awesome. And it was super cheap.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah.
So
yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah, I've got a few original stuff as well, and like they asked where I got my officer leggings. And they were like, "Whoa, those look really different." Like, yeah, because I didn't have any hooks, so I had to repair them with grommets instead of rivets, stuff like that. And it's the whole thing of like trying to explain that it's original, and they don't make originals anymore. Yeah, it's just a bit.
Yeah.
But
where do you find that? Like, you have to be lucky.
Yeah.
It's
like, but alternatively, like, because obviously, as annoying as it is for us to go, it's like the same message out like 50 times to different people. At least their motive behind it is trying to learn and trying to get better with their.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why when I get asked a question like, "Oh, how do you darken your boots?" when I have a video on my YouTube channel about specifically that, it's hard for me to, I feel like a jerk just linking the video because they're asking a legitimate question that I at one time didn't know. But at the same time, I feel like, I have this channel, I have these certain series about doing that, like. Is it too hard to just scroll and see if I've already answered?
Because if I found an informational channel like yours, if I was new to this, all I would do is binge watch everything, and that's me personally because I'm a very obsessive person.
Yeah,
admittedly.
But
it's
And the only reason why I even say that is because some of the things are very difficult to explain when I type them, and it's just easier for me to explain them verbally like this. So when someone asks a question, because I was getting questions asked all the time after I had darkened my boots, like, "Oh, how'd you do that?" And I had to answer the question like 10 times in a day. I was like, I'm tired of this. So I literally made the video because I was tired of answering the question.
Is why my ankle boots look good now because I so cheers.
I'm glad to hear that it helped someone.
Yeah,
but I
didn't help anyone else. You helped me.
At least I helped one person. If my series helps at least one person, then I've accomplished my goal.
Precisely.
Because I made several mistakes when I first started. I wasted so much money on stuff I shouldn't have bought. And so if I can help someone,
there wasn't even a tutorial of how to put together P-weight webbing. I got it, and it was all mushed up into the haversack, the small haversack, and I chucked everything out, chucked it on my floor, and went, the fuck do I do with this? And there was not a single video on YouTube for how to put together POA webbing. Not a single one. And I want to make one, and I really should have made one by now. But there's now one that I could find easily. But the fact that there's only one, and it's 2020, and reenacting's been around, World One's been around for decades, and YouTube's been around for almost decades at this point. You go, how is there only one video that I've been able to find?
How is there only that one specific thing? Because like it's not like it's some obscure nation, or an obscure piece.
Britain. It is their standard webbing sets that they used for the entire war.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like why it's like how there are so few videos for how to do putties or Gamaschen. Is it Gamaschen?
Yep.
Right.
So German it's Gamaschen, and then British it's putties.
Yes.
So when I first started, there was all of 2 videos on how to wrap putties,
one of them Mike
and
B?
one of them, no.
He's the one I found it from.
There was only 2, and one of them was a really crappy video made back in 2008 with one of those crappy little hand cameras and some younger reenactors showing how to do it. Yeah. And then the other one was one that was slightly more professional, but really old video quality, or at least crappy video quality, crappy audio. And that's how I learned how to tie my putties, because I wasn't connected with any reenactment group. I had just started out. Yeah. And and so slowly over time, there's been more videos, and I think the best one out there right now. Yeah. I think the best one out there right now is Brandon F's video, because not only does he show you how to tie them, he gives a lot of information on their uses and how useful they are. Not only that, but he also shows the practical application by literally jumping in puddles.
Into a river,
And then he like literally takes off his boot and his putties and shows how dry his trousers are. So I think that's probably the best tutorial out there, just because it shows what well-wrapped putties can do for you. And he also shows how to do it. So
obviously I don't make YouTube videos as much as I've wanted to for a long time. But if people came to me with the same kind of questions they had for you, but for a British kit, that's who I'd send them to. Because he has the point being, as you said, he has practical application things.
Yeah. So he takes a lot of time to make each video to make sure everything's very well formulated, and I'm trying to eventually get some of my videos to that point. There are definitely some points that I've touched up upon in my previous videos on reenactment that I'm going to go back to and do better.
Mm-hmm.
But right now I'm leaving it as is. I'm working on I'm too busy with lighting the powder keg and other videos to focus on
series.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's like when you watch the beginning, it's like the first few episodes of The Great War back in 2014, and it's like 20 minutes just to explain like 2 days worth of things. You go, this is going to be a long series. So for this next episode of Lighting the Powder Keg, we're just covering the revolutions of 1848. I had to delay it to next Sunday because next Saturday. This Saturday I had to quickly record a filler video because the writing team I have is like we've got almost we're on track for how it would have looked like if I was to get it released this Saturday, which is I'd be recording today. So we've basically got the full typical script length written, which is about 1,500 to 1,800 words. We're not a quarter of the way done. So this is a very, very long episode, and I'm going to be putting a lot of work into it. And we got to get the script done by Sunday so I can record it over the course of 2 days, get it edited, and then get it uploaded in time for my patrons to have access to it early. Yeah.
And do all that without making it so that my real life stuff doesn't get interrupted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really crazy right now.
Strike that, my friend.
So it's almost going to become almost a documentary length video. So because it's going to be so long, I'm trying to put more effort into the resources and into how it's going to be edited. And you can probably see some editing quality increases in my more recent videos with different things.
Which is fair enough.
But yeah, it's getting there. It's pretty cool. I actually sent the video, my series, to Time Ghost because they were the main inspiration for my format and doing it eventually. I was just like, hey, here you guys go. I just sent them a long paragraph thanking them for what they did. They got back to me and they said it looks amazing. And they were like,
did I react to your story? You put on your story and I was like, dude, holy shit. Sorry, I don't know.
Well, because that was the Forbes article. That was the thing where the dude reached out to me and made a Forbes article about the series. That was super cool. I'm just okay.
One, it's Forbes. Two,
it's Forbes, but it's not BuzzFeed. It's not BuzzFeed. It's not any of those. It's a semi-respectable, semi.
But it could be worse.
It could be worse. So yeah, it's just been pretty cool. You know, I haven't got an extreme amount of growth, but like 1,000 subscribers in a couple of days is pretty cool. So you know, it's been fun. It's been super fun to do.
Absolutely.
I've really enjoyed it. But yeah, I'm gonna try to do some more. I'm going to an event this Saturday, which is like a tank event. In a city like 40 minutes away from me in full kit. So I'm going to do some recording there and get a video midweek. But yeah, lighting the powder keg. This next episode, oh my god, the episodes are going to be getting a lot longer and a lot more in depth as it goes forward. These last three were just background.
Yeah, fair enough. And then because I was surprised just how like far back the roots of the First World War go. Like first, you know, because they had the Great War had. I'm going to talk about the Great War a lot. They had a few prologue episodes, and the first couple of episodes was a bit of the build up. That wasn't. That was, you know, the weeks or months leading up to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't Napoleon.
Napoleon. Yeah. So it's really interesting when you try to find the origin of an event in history, because if you dig too deep and you lower your threshold enough, you can take it all the way back to pre-Roman times.
Yeah, you can just.
So
there's like
there's like a point that you have to set a goal. Like, what caused the First World War? Okay, the causes were nationalism and imperialism and aggressive expansionism. Okay, and part of the reason, the thing that fell that first domino in June 1918 and June 1914 was Austrian instability and Serbian nationalism. Okay, what started those? Where did those start? Like, where did that first domino fall that eventually led to Austrian instability? Okay, 1848 revolutions. Well, that doesn't really explain. That doesn't really explain Serbian and the Balkan problems. Okay, then we have to take it back to Napoleon, because that's when Austria was set up as sort of this Central European power. That explains why Italy was against Austria during the First World War. That explains against Austria. That will eventually explain the Ottomans siding with the Central Powers and all this other crazy stuff, and it explains so much stuff with
it gives
why
so much background and it makes the chaos of World War make a bit more sense.
Yeah, and so, but going before Napoleon doesn't make too much sense, because Napoleon himself didn't cause the First World War. Rather, the Congress of Vienna eventually set the dominoes up.
Caused you to go, right, maybe I shouldn't go any further back than this.
Yeah, because Napoleon was another climactic event that happened. Another set of dominoes fell. Congress of Vienna took those dominoes and put them back together and set at the stage again. And it just took a while for those dominoes to eventually fall into the First World War.
But my God, did those dominoes fall big?
Oh yeah, and like you can do something where you take World War II and say, well, World War II was caused by World War I, but you can't bring World War II and take those origins back to Napoleon, because World War I was the event that set the dominoes up, and that was my criteria. What event set the stage? World War I set the stage for World War II, so you can't go before World War I.
Yes.
You know, I mean, maybe in the Pacific you can go before World War I because of Japan, but in reality, when you're discussing World War II in Europe, you can't go before World War I.
Yeah, precisely.
You can't have a World War II without World War I, so you can't go before it.
Yeah.
Same thing with World War I. Exactly. You can't do World War I without the Congress of Vienna. So we've got to talk about Congress of Vienna all the way up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I chose that specific starting point, which is quite a long way. It's 100 years.
Yeah, I'm going to say, there's a bit of a difference between 1914, 1918 to 1939. But it's 1913, 1914 to a whole century. You know, it's like yeah. But it's really,
like the Congress of Vienna started shortly. It's just a very interesting thing, because like as the series goes on, you're going to start seeing more pieces fall in place. Like with the Greek War for Independence, you're like, okay, so that's how that happened. That's how the Balkans start to explode in on themselves. Multiple revolutions in France.
It's like watching a prequel to a really good movie, and they introduce characters. You go, oh, I know who that is, and you do the is it what's he called? The guy the Leonardo DiCaprio. You do the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like,
I know that guy.
War.
So a couple of teasers. Episode 5 is going to have a specific historical individual. It might actually contain 2 historical individuals that will be seen for a lot of the rest of the series. Specifically, one that we'll see for the rest of the series is going to be introduced in this next episode. And in episode 6, there's going to be a special guest that I'm not going to divulge into too much. Episode 7 might as well, but I need to confirm. So,
well, I sure for one am looking forward to that. Are you?
Is everybody else looking forward to that? But yeah, so getting back on topic, since we tended to go down rabbit holes whenever we do live streams.
Yes,
that's just what happens. But yeah, with the whole, so back here on the West Coast, we recently had a reenactment event up north in Washington. I don't know if you know too much about reenactment groups in the United States. We have a very big one in Pennsylvania. They're located around the Newville area. Huge reenactment group. They might be.
Just go. Which one's Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania is the boxy one above Virginia, which is next to D.C., so East Coast. It's sandwiched between New York and Maryland. Maryland's above Virginia, and
got it.
Maryland is a state that probably shouldn't exist because it's so small, but I digress.
I'm going into Maryland in 2013 or 14. I was like, so is it a state? My dad was like, I don't know, it's tiny.
I went to the East Coast a couple of years ago, back in summer 2013, which is funny. And we drove through Maryland, and because we were going from DC to Gettysburg, and we drove through Maryland, and it was like, we're in Maryland, we're out of Maryland.
Yeah, it's like
that was basically how long the road is through the state. So there's a reenactment group there in Newville in Pennsylvania, which is like an hour away from Harrisburg. So it's a really big reenactment group. It's one of the biggest in the world for World War One. It's definitely the biggest in the Americas.
Fair play.
So this group on the West Coast, their whole thing is that they want to become the Newville of the West Coast. We have like a couple of disjointed reenactment groups over here. We've got one that does events down in Southern California, and one that is just starting up that does events in Northwest America.
Right.
The problem is that neither one of these events have like a website or anything, especially the one in Southern California, which has apparently been around for years, but no one ever talks about it.
Right.
I actually met a member of it at a Sabaton concert, which was freaking hilarious.
There is no better place to meet a fellow reenactor than at a
Sabaton. No, not at all. I will get into that in just a minute. It was a it's a very funny story, but
I'm gonna do this because this collar's killing me. Sorry.
Oh yeah, these collars suck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they did an event back a few weeks ago, and I had a live stream with 1918 Doughboy Owen, and he talked about it, and it was really interesting. But at the same time, it made me realize like calling hits in those reenactments is got to be so difficult because you're shooting literal blanks. Like, how do you know if you got hit or not?
Tell if you've been shot or not.
You can't snipe. You can't surprise attack.
Exactly. There's so That is why I like airsoft as a format for reenacting more than blank firing. It might not sound as realistic, but it's more tactical. It's more you feel the rush of I'm actually about to get hit by something. I'm trying to avoid being hit. It's just more fast-paced. And I assume I'm sure you can relate to that, being that you play a lot of airsoft in your reenactment kit. Seeing you with your Sabaton Panzer and gas mask on with an MG08, so good.
I love it so much. I get hit so much doing that, but it's fun. When I just walk out into the open, I just draw so much fire because I'm just like this the whole time, and so after 5 seconds, it's just ping, 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 ping. So it's one of those things where you can't even do close quarter kills because at 5 feet, blanks become lethal. You know. You could hurt someone very badly with a blank if you're closer than like 10 feet.
Oh god, yeah, because there's still the gas and fire.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where I was hearing Owen talk about like the rules and stuff that they had, and I was like, I would be so anxious playing that I was going to screw up and accidentally hurt someone.
Yes.
Or hurt myself.
Yeah, I would feel more anxious in a blank fight than I would in an airsoft game with proper eye protection and face protection and stuff. I'd feel more anxious with blanks. Because, obviously when you get to the higher FPSs in airsoft, you get minimum engagement distance and stuff. We play with no minimum engagement distance and rifles around, bolties with 350 FPS, so there's no minimum engagement distance. Because that's more realistic, because you're trying to kill the person. That's how we were playing it with our last game. If someone in the first time sees this and I'm wrong, please correct me. But yeah, so it's like it's a bit different between blanks. That and I remember seeing, it might have been from Owen or it might have been from Thomas Yip. It's someone popping up over a parapet and shooting two guys, and you can see the kind of disconnect between I'm aiming for you, from my point of view, I've hit you, and the guy going, "Did you hit me?" You know what I mean? It's like when you have, it's like when you're going finger guns, trying to shoot someone on like as children on the playground. You go, "No, I hit you."
Yeah.
No, you didn't. You didn't. One pointing at me. Well, I was. You're gonna go, where's that? Where's that? You get an actual impact of you've shot me. I've been hit, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
And going back to Brandon F again, he did a video on like calling hits and reenactment.
Yes,
and it's one of those things where you just kind of have to guess. And
am I dead? Okay.
And I heard Owen talking about like what they were trying to do with like, just if it makes sense that you're dead, just call your hits. And it's like, that's like way more of an honor system than with Airsoft. And all it takes is one dude to really screw it up. Because if someone's screwing it up in Airsoft, you just have to clip dump right into their face and they'll learn their lesson,
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
You can just, you can easily, yeah, exactly. And then everyone can light up the faker. But when it comes down to reenactment, what are you going to do? Shoot more blanks at them?
Yeah, what are you going to do? There's nothing to do.
So,
there's nothing you can do.
So I will say that the sound of a reenactment battle is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Blanks don't feel or sound the same as a real bullet, but like, what are you going to do?
Well, yeah, it's closer to...
Yeah. I wish that there was some way that you could like get a low-powered round into a real gun with like something that's almost like a paintball.
Like a wax bullet or paintball. Yeah.
Exactly. Something that doesn't really hurt as much, but like will still have the same sound as a gun.
And then you don't even get me started on paintball sights and reenactment gear. I got this tunic for the event. I managed to get brushed most of it off, but there's still like, you won't be able to see it now. But there was paint all down the back of this because it's a paintball sight as well as an NASA sight. And I took it off. But at the end of the day, I was like, mother.
Yeah.
It was bright green. 180 quid. Bright green.
But yeah, I want to do a reenactment event where people are shooting blanks. But there's other things that I want to do before reenactment that I can't talk about right now because of reasons. Surprises for the future that are months and months away. But yeah, one of the cool things though is I went to, back in October of last year, almost a year ago. I went to a Sabaton concert with my brother and a friend of mine, and I was wearing my older World War I uniform.
So cool.
With my reproduction Stahlhelm I have up here, which I got signed by the band that day, which was pretty freaking awesome.
I would for my helmet to be signed by Sabaton.
So I also got my United States Sabaton flag signed by the band, and when I went on Sabaton cruise, I got it signed by Andy Nidell as well. So, but anyway, I'm at this concert. I'm wearing my full uniform with Stahlhelm. So the concert was in Berkeley, which is near San Francisco. And if you know anything about American society, Berkeley is the hotspot for people who will just scream at you for being a Nazi because you're wearing the wrong clothing. And so wearing a World War I German uniform in Berkeley, California on a Saturday night isn't the best idea. Luckily, nothing bad happened. Everyone was super like complimentary of the uniform. And my brother's uniform, he was wearing his British uniform. Yeah. And there was lots of people just like, are they going to let you in with the helmets? And so I asked the people at the security who were right in front of me, like, yeah. So I had, so we went to the concert, first time in a mosh pit, and I was wearing full wool. Almost died.
It could be,
almost died.
You've got protection because you've got,
yeah.
Sometimes a headbutt, you can just...
Some poor soul, and I'll get into what happened with my helmet that concert. But so I'm at this concert. It's like halfway through, and it was during one of the songs. I forget which one. I think Ghost Division. But I look over, and there's a dude wearing a Russian uniform. Now, I had seen this dude the last time I saw Sabaton in concert, which was the first time I had seen him in concert. There was a dude wearing a full Russian uniform. Yeah. With full kit in the mosh pit. And I see the same dude.
What era Russia?
World War II.
Okay, fine, right.
And I saw him in the corner of my eye, about 20 feet from me in the mosh pit. 20 feet in a mosh pit might not sound like much, but it's in a mosh pit.
It's a lot in a mosh pit.
And now this dude is a big dude. Like, he's taller than I am, and he's just wider. He's huge.
Yeah.
And I'm not very light either. Like, even then, I'm a pretty big dude. So he sees me. He sees me. He looks at me and he points and says, "Yo," and then makes his way through the mosh pit really quickly. I'm terrified.
Heads out the way as he walks.
He grabs me under my arms, lifts me up above his head. My helmet goes flying off onto some poor soul in the crowd.
Oh, God.
And he just sets me down and holds me by my shoulders and shakes me.
Dear God.
It was amazing. And we're talking, we started talking after the concert, and he's from a reenactment group down in Southern California. He was working on a Austrian impression to do World War One. Really cool dude, but that was probably one of the funnest moments I've had in a concert, was just him spotting me from halfway across the mosh pit.
That's amazing.
Getting to me super quickly, and then literally just lifting me. It was crazy. Yeah. It was insane.
I'm just picturing Joachim going, so the fuck is that going on?
But yeah, it was definitely really fun. They did the whole like oars in the mosh pit, and my brother, my friend, and I got down. My friend, he got like, because it's a mosh pit, and it was my friend's first time in a concert ever, in a live concert.
No,
mosh pit for Sabaton.
First concert. Jesus Christ.
This dude, he kind of, it was so hot in the mosh pit, he just kind of blinked out halfway through.
Yeah.
In terms of like just forgetting everything that heavy. So like 1 second we're sitting there, next second I know I'm like in the little rowing thing with a bunch of people, and he had just no idea what's going on. Yeah, time just stops mattering. Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty fun with the whole concert in general was just awesome.
Pit, then there's a Sabaton mosh pit.
Oh, they're completely different things.
I can just imagine, because I remember seeing one of their I think it was from Wacken. I remember seeing one of their lives, a mosh pit at one of their live concerts, and it's just in Night Witches, when the chorus hits, and it's just they're just like cyclones of people smashing into each other. You go, oh God, yes.
Yeah, it was really fun, and then going and being able to do the cruise thing 2 months later was just awesome. That was a good few months.
It was so cool.
The Sabaton cruise was definitely really, really fun. It was boring at parts just because, I can be very introverted at times, especially when I'm around a bunch of people I don't know. Yeah. But it was fun. I didn't have my uniform with me because I was packing light. I didn't want to take too much with me because we weren't just doing the cruise. But yeah, it was definitely really fun. Every single time when they were doing the concert, I showed up a couple hours early, and both nights I was on the gate.
Nice.
Front row. Nice. It was amazing.
I have Night Witch stuck in my head now.
I'm trying to see if I can find it. I got a drumstick from Civil War the band during that. Their branch off band.
That's a pretty cool souvenir.
But yeah, someone who was right next to me got a stick from the Sabaton drummer, Hans von Dahl. A lucky bastard.
I'm not gonna lie, I cannot remember anyone other than Joachim. He's the only I can remember. I'm like, right, one of them was called Thomas?
Tommy? One's got really long hair that's blonde. One's got long hair that's black. One has a goatee. There's Joachim. And then there's the goatee guitarist, and then there's the drummer.
There's the drummer. Wait, hang on. One of them has black hair?
Yeah. Bar. I think that's how you pronounce his name. The bassist. The bassist.
I'm just trying to...
The guy who plays the big Swedish flag bass. He's got a goatee as well.
Is he?
So does the guitarist. Both of them. I think Par has the brownish hair, but what they've got Tommy, and then they've got what's his name? I forget his name. Because they've had Per since the start. Joachim and Per started the band back in 1999.
Yes,
they've stayed throughout all the different transitions.
Yes,
because all the original members left in 2012 after Carlos Rex, because Sabaton was getting super popular and they had like toured
Yeah. I remember
The amount of concerts
if
they
you
did was like
look
every
at
other
the
day.
old Sabaton versus new Sabaton, it's a different feel.
Yeah.
Even if
Even the
it's
songs feel
like
different.
Ghost Division, it's different.
Yeah.
A different feel from them. But it's
exactly.
It's not any better or worse. It's still pretty fucking good.
Oh yeah, the Last Stand album was okay. I like it, but it was okay.
Yeah.
But the Great War album is fire.
Straight fire, my guy. I remember
Attack of the Dead Men is such a popping song.
And
it
came out a week before I was in Canada. It came out a week before I went to Canada. I was there for Canada/America for 2 weeks. I came back on an 8-hour flight back to the UK, had an hour's drive from Heathrow Airport back to my house. I chucked my friend Nat, who's also in the 1st Battalion, was waiting on my driveway for me. I chucked my suitcase in the door, grabbed my rucksack and bag, my box full of airsoft kit, packed my car up, and then drove another 3 hours, which is a long way in the UK, to South Wales. Got there at 2:45 a.m. for Archangel, my first airsoft thing with the 1st Battalion. Listening to just 1:30 in the morning, going, "Beneath the starlight of the heavens," and just going, yes. Oh god, yes.
just Sabaton 24/7.
That wasn't even Great War. Never mind.
Yeah, I was so excited for Sabaton Open Air this year because it was going to be Raubtier, Civil War. It was going to be, I think there was a couple other really big bands that were going to be there too that I was really looking forward to.
Yeah.
And then COVID. It's going on next year though, and so it's going on next year. So hopefully I can get a ticket again and get myself set up to go. I don't think they're selling tickets yet for it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they would. It's everything's so uncertain.
Yeah. I know that they sold tickets and that they're still supposedly doing Sabaton Cruise this year. Which is very interesting. It does, but it's just they released. So they sold the tickets on time, and they were still planning it even after they canceled Sabaton Open Air.
I reckon it's probably like, what's the word? Just in case.
They're still planning it just in case things get bad.
If we have to cancel, we'll refund you, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's a big problem for a lot of people who go there from overseas because there's a lot of people. There's a group that has been going there for several years.
I would be willing to go all the way from the UK to America just for that cruise. My God, does it look fun!
I came from there are people who go there every single year who come from Australia, who go to the cruise every year from Australia.
Right.
And they only go there for the cruise. They don't stay there for Stockholm. Yeah. They go there for the cruise and then go back to Australia.
And that is 2 whole days just on an aeroplane.
Yep.
In the words of those Aussies, crikey.
You are basically traveling 4 full days on an airplane because of how long the trip is for a 3-day cruise.
I mean,
for a 2-night cruise.
3 days
and last year,
worth it.
Yeah, 2 nights with Sabaton. Holy crap! It was amazing. But before this last year's cruise, they had only been doing 1 night of concerts.
The UK. Sorry.
So like you're talking about 4 days of travel to go see Sabaton concert for 1 night.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's pretty cool because you're going to a different country and it's like this whole special cruise thing. But like at the same time, oh my god.
Whoa.
It was definitely worth it for me. 100%. It was 100% worth it for me. It was.
Oh, God.
We went to Stockholm for a couple days. We were in Stockholm for 2 nights. We had the cruise. We went to the capital of Estonia, Tallinn. Then we came back more Stockholm. Then we went home. Really nice. It's a very beautiful city.
17. Yeah,
it's a very beautiful city.
Sweden, yeah.
And it's not super, because I've been to a couple places in Europe. Back in 2018, I went to Paris, Verdun, Normandy, and London, and bunch of different areas. Went to areas in Ireland and Scotland. Stockholm is not as touristy as most places in Western Europe.
No,
at all. Even the touristy areas don't feel touristy. Like there's some spots where you feel like you're walking down a touristy district in like San Francisco or, city closest to me, Sacramento, there's like
Yeah.
different touristy areas. It might feel a little bit like that, but you kind of feel like you're just in a normal city that is
Precisely.
just a normal, regular city. I didn't feel
Even-
like there was ever a rush about anything.
Exactly. Having been to quite a few different spots in America, and a few places in Europe, it's a very different. America and the UK and Europe have very different approaches to tourism. With America, it's what I call American. It's big. It's like tourists come here and spend money, please.
Yeah,
kind of thing. It doesn't.
big neon lights.
Precisely.
Vegas style
Decorations.
Tourism,
yeah. But then
when you go to America for tourism, you're looking at Disneyland style attractions.
Exactly. You're looking at an attraction. You're not looking at a city.
Because America, if you want to go here for like history, you're going to go to the East Coast, and if you're coming to the middle of the United States or the West Coast, it's because you're really into Native history.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you're coming to California because you're really into Gold Rush history and you're from Europe,
then that's.
Exactly. I mean, have fun, but if you're that into the Old West, maybe it's because I grew up around it, but I don't really care too much about the Old West feel. It's like, ooh, I live 20 minutes from Old Town Sac with all their Gold Rush stuff, but like I couldn't care less,
Yeah,
I literally live a couple hours drive from where
the castle that the Queen got her name from, Windsor Castle. So it's like
it is what it is.
Good.
I live 2 hours away from where the Donner Party decided to have a cannibal fest.
No way. Sorry, I got way too excited about that.
I literally, it's on my way. If I wanted to go to Lake Tahoe, it's literally right off the freeway, just right there. And it's
coincidentally, I was listening to a podcast about that very event on my way back from the last Airsoft event.
Oh,
here we come, full circle.
Now, I will say there are some pretty cool things here. I recently went to Tahoe with a friend of mine because his family owns a cabin up there, and he convinced his dad to let us just stay there for a couple nights. He'd been trying to do that for like some years, and finally his dad's like, fine. So he went there, and he's like, there's some pretty cool abandoned train tunnels we can go walk through. So apparently the tunnels were blown into the mountainside back when the Transcontinental Railroad was first put in, and it's the first rail line across the Sierras. It was the first one ever.
Okay.
And back in like the 70s, they actually tore it out because they drilled directly through the tunnel. Just straight through the mountain, which they couldn't have done before because of the technology. Instead, they kind of went a roundabout way. So there's all these abandoned train tunnels, and we just walked through them. There's a bunch. It's like a huge tourist attraction now. But you can walk for miles all the way down to where the new track intersects where the old track was. It's really cool, and it was one of the few times where I was where a bit of like the Old West history was like super, super cool, was because it's just something you'd never thought that you'd be able to see. Was like, holy crap, like these
redemption in real life.
Exactly. Yeah. It was super, super interesting. And then there was this one area where the tunnels just kind of separated, and if you walk down, there's like this old area where Indians used to live or pass through, and you can see their old art in the rocks as you're walking right along it.
Wow.
And what was really cool is that some areas like that, they're super gated off to where you just can't walk past it.
Yeah.
This area, I don't know why, but it just wasn't. You could literally just walk on wherever the artwork was, which I thought was really weird and interesting.
That's not very good for conservation, but it is cool.
Yeah, but it felt like walking into one of those pictures that you see from like the 50s where people are just walking around this historical landmark with nothing telling them what not to do.
Maybe we should try to preserve this.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt like that. But everyone was
graffiti scratched into it.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Tony from 1972.
I'm gonna find your family.
I'm gonna find your grandkids.
But yeah, everyone was staying on the paths and staying off of it, which was very interesting. But yeah, if you look like on this ridge, like across this ravine, right by the road, because there's like this older like road that cars used to take to get around the mountains before I-80 was put in, which is our main freeway artery across the mountains.
Right.
Off that road, there's a old rusted out fire truck from the 60s that fell off the road and crashed down the mountainside, and you can just see it. It's completely inaccessible, but it's just sitting there rusted out.
But it's just sitting there.
It's just like, oh, okay, I guess that exists. And then off to the side, another area that's pretty much inaccessible is is an entrance to a mine shaft that isn't blocked off.
That's so cool.
So it's like, it's because usually I'm
get shit like that in England. You just don't.
Well, you don't get it here. It
Oh,
was
well.
because most stuff, because of lawsuits, is all blocked off now. So seeing that was like, if I wanted to, I could just walk up there.
Just walk in there, never come out, just become an urban legend.
Just become an urban legend, and then I'll be featured on some random YouTuber's video about the dude who went missing in a cave system.
Top 5 super scary urban legends that are totally real. Yeah,
exactly. That 100% legit. Not clickbait at all. This 4chaner went missing.
Fuck's sake. But yeah. There are some really odd areas in places. Like I've seen, like in the US, I've seen some weird stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like you get the good and you get the bad. Like I went to Zion National Park, which I don't know if you've heard of it because you're so big that even its own residents haven't heard of it. But like
I think I heard a little bit about it.
I will speak to someone who, in Manchester and say, oh yeah, and I live close to Windsor Castle. You live close to Windsor Castle? And they'll heard of it. You talk to someone in the US about something and they go, the what? And you go, it's 2 hours away. Like, but yeah, I was like, you get things like that, and it's like when I was at Zion, which was founded in 1919, by the way. Sorry, my drain pipe just fell over. And you get like I went so off track for a second. When I was in Zion, I saw a deer in the hotel. There was like a bit between bits of the building. I was like, and having come from England, where the closest you get is seeing like a fox or a buckhorn, which is a type of really small deer, like on the motorway at like 2 a.m, and then like 3:30, middle of the afternoon, just a deer standing there, like it's like he was like 6 feet tall with the antlers. It was taller than me, and in the middle of just eating there, looks at you, doesn't give a damn, and walks off, and you go, that's a deer. And you go, what? What?
So I've done a lot of camping in the past and all that, and seeing deer walk around is not at all uncommon for me. I went up like on my Tahoe trip.
Yeah.
We were sitting in the cabin just looking outside, and there was like this group of deer. My friend and my brother and whatnot. They're like, oh look, there's deer over there. I'm like, wow, deer. Because when I lived in the country, we had neighbors who were growing grapes. We lived on one side of the canal. They lived on the other side of this canal that ran between our properties, ran between where we lived. And on our side of the canal, we rarely got any sort of animals. If we got a lot of animals, it was mainly because of the California drought or because of just things going on where, like a fire, which was very interesting because like what we see on our property was all dependent on the health of the environment. And if there's a fire or there's a drought, we saw more animals so desperate that because the only way across the canal was an active road. So animals wouldn't go along the active road unless they were desperate.
Right.
So if we saw things like more coyotes, a deer, or at one point a fox, we knew it was because fires, drought, bad harvest, exactly, stuff's bad on the other side of the canal. But yeah, they'd see deers all the time. They had to set up special fences. I'd go over to their house and just broad daylight be driving up there, and there'd be 3 deer just bounding across their property. So yeah, it was normal. Yeah. It was normal to me. There was a story back in the 60s. Someone had a peacock farm, and he had a divorce, and so he just released all the peacoks, and so now the hills are filled with invasive species of peacock.
Oh god!
So just watching wild peacocks roam the hills was just normal.
It's cute. They're killing it.
So. You're breaking up there just a little bit.
No, yeah, I went a bit crackly. It must be the 8,000 miles between us.
Oh, there we go.
On a note of wildlife, my next door neighbor on the very other side of the hedge that the camera can't see, and I won't show you because it's pitch black outside. is we keep our next neighbor keeps chickens and sells eggs and stuff, and because we get foxes, a lot of foxes around here. He got alpacas. He has 5 alpacas in this giant field just next to my house, and I can see them from my bedroom window. They'll just look at me and just go, "Yep, that's an alpaca," in Marlow, in South Buckinghamshire, England, for no reason, as you do. Sorry, I have to put up. My back's killing me.
Just to protect against the foxes.
Yeah, but it's like, and I was like, what? I asked them, I was like, why do you have alpacas of all things? Why not dogs or anything? It's like, alpacas and foxes are natural enemies. I'm like, are they? Foxes eat out of bins. Alpacas live in mountains. Natural enemies. I don't know, but they help.
I guess we had neighbors who had chickens, and they'd get attacked by coyotes a lot, and they actually brought in alpacas to scare away the coyotes. Alpacas are just good against predators for some reason, I guess because they spit. But yeah, one of the most interesting things from living out in the country was we had a coyote problem on our property for a couple of times.
Right.
And one of the times we had this one coyote that would constantly come on our property and threaten our goats that we had and our pigs and our chickens.
Yeah.
So anytime that we saw it coming up, whoever was available would grab the shotgun and go out there to try to scare it off. And
if
there was one time where
we had access to something like that in the UK. Sorry, you went a bit crackly as well for a second. But
it keeps breaking up, like it just keeps lagging pretty bad.
No, yeah, exactly. Let's not get into the whole guns in the UK thing, because I could talk for a long time about that.
Yeah. When I was on my way to Stockholm last year on the flight, there was a guy who I sat next to who was from Britain coming back home.
Right.
And he talked to me for about 2 hours straight about guns and how badly he wanted guns to be legal in Britain and how good America had it.
Yes.
Which is very interesting.
In some aspects. Not in all aspects, just in some.
Some aspects.
Not many people
know
all.
This.
I've had this conversation with
but in some.
people, the Americans. You can get firearms in the UK. You can get shotguns if you're a farmer to protect livestock, for the exact reason you'd say grabbing shotguns to protect from coyotes, which we do not have in England at all. There are zilch coyotes. We have foxes. We used to have wolves until the Middle Ages, when there was a guy that was literally called, someone nicknamed the Hunter. He killed every single wolf in this country. That's a whole thing. But yeah, so you can have shotguns up to, I think you can't have anything bigger than 12 gauge buckshot. If you're a farmer, you need to have a certain amount of land and a certain amount of livestock, and there to be confirmed foxes that will eat your livestock in the area. You can be part of a rifle association at a shooting range, and then you can only have access to a semi-automatic or a bolt-action rifle. You can't have shotguns for rangers, to my knowledge. You can't have, and it only goes up to a certain caliber, and there's like all these other restrictions that I'm not super familiar with because I haven't had a reason to familiarize myself with them. But there is no full auto weapons in this country at all unless you are specialized armed police or the military. A civilian cannot own a fully automatic weapon at all, which is sad.
Yeah. Here in America, it's difficult to get a full auto, mainly thanks to Nixon and Reagan, but I won't get into that too much. Firearms Act of 1964 really screwed everything. I don't think it was 64. It was sometime in the 60s where everything got screwed up. But yeah, it's really sad. Yeah. It's pretty interesting, the different stories where we've had things come onto our property like coyotes. We'd occasionally get a random group of coyotes come onto our property, and anytime that we had it, because they would threaten our chickens and they threaten our neighbors' chickens, which towards the end of my stay at the property before we sold it and moved, our neighbor was leasing land from us to put his chickens on because his chicken thing was expanding substantially. Yeah, he had a couple thousand chickens over dozens of acres. But yeah, so we'd have coyotes on. And at one point, there was a couple times where, the closest gun to me was my Gavir 98. So I'd grab a clip, just slam it, rack it. And
I have no other options apart from my Gavir
98. No.
Lucky
I have to use my Gavir 98 to protect myself. Oh no. If I'm getting robbed and I need to defend myself, I'll be like, you've chosen the wrong house, sir. Just grab my bayonet and be like, I don't know if you want to attack this house. I take so long getting ready with my kit that he just rob everything and leave.
Just, yeah, he's like, no, it's fine. Actually, he's like, how much did that cost? Oh, honestly, this thing, 100, yeah, give me that too. Oh, fine.
Fine.
Yeah, I mean, it is, I don't know if it's exactly the best thing to admit something I did illegally, but a few times when I've been home alone overnight, and I feel a bit paranoid, I have a wooden trench club, which is about that long. It's wood with screws in it, and obviously I have my WeTech 1911. I did have those out in case I needed to use self-defense. I've never had a reason to, and I'm never going to bring them out in public because that is very illegal, very, very illegal, and I don't want to lose it.
Well, Britain's like, yes, butter knives, they're dangerous.
Yeah. But then again, we've got the same problem with knives you do with guns in the US, which is,
which just goes to show banning one item. Banning one weapon isn't going to suddenly lower the overall death count. It's just going to transfer who gets killed from one item to another.
Yeah, my sister, in fact, my entire family, besides my brother, they're all the very stereotypical English person of, oh, you Americans with your guns and your Trump, and oh, you're very racist. Come on.
You Americans.
You Americans with your firearms. I go, America with your firearms. Yeah, but
the racism we can do without, but the firearms, I want that. See, every freedom has a cost. We get the firearms, but we also have to have the race.
You've got firearms, but you've also got firearms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely pretty interesting. Just a lot of people, like, one of the most common arguments is like, oh, well, what about suicide rates? If you get rid of firearms, the most common suicide thing is like, but there's countries with substantially higher suicide rates than California than America.
Or try to decrease the suicides by giving them help.
Try to figure out the problem.
Yeah, figure out what makes them want to kill themselves, not take away how they're going to do it.
Exactly.
This got very serious.
This got very political. we just take a normal conversation and derail it until it's not at all.
And get anywhere close to politics.
Or America.
I had to break up an actual fight in my pub that I work at. I know it's very stereotypical for a British guy to work in a pub, but I've had to break up a fight. So, what's the...
No. It's very stereotypical. It's very stereotypical for...
Sir, please leave. Just... Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's very stereotypical for a British person who dresses up from the Imperial Age to work at a pub.
It's just surprising this coat isn't red. Let's be real.
I'm surprised you don't work there in your British uniform. That's what I'm surprised about.
I was like... I pulled my cupboard open, and I was like, British, German. Well, he's German, I'm British. And then I realized this one is a bit newer and isn't quite as itchy yet, so I thought I'll just go with this one. And also I couldn't find my helmet, my Brody, so here we are.
Do you have a Stahlhelm, though?
I do have a Stahlhelm. It needs a bit more breaking in. The padding, like, squishes my head, and I haven't worn it to a game. You'll see in the... anyone that's seen the pictures from our Airsoft game, I was wearing an officer's cap. That was just to denote me, besides the shoulder boards and the fact I was the only one there with sandbag grenade bags.
Is it an authentic style?
It worked fucking well. They worked really well. As soon as I get
the sand-filled grenade?
Sorry?
What'd you say about the grenades?
Sorry. So my cap was the only thing to note in my rank, besides the fact I was also wearing officer shoulder boards, and I was the only one there with grenade bags made from...
Oh, gotcha, grenade bags.
And I was like...
Yeah, those are
I
awesome.
stuck out like a sore thumb, because everyone else was like, grey with a great coat, cap, bright white shoulder boards, grenade bags, only one there in putties. Let's aim for that guy! And, let's be fair, I was like... grenades akimbo. It was very fun.
Did you guys use authentic cooking techniques in the field, or did you just do
We ordered pizza.
Very authentic.
No, yeah. We didn't have actual lunch on game day. We just whatever we bought from the shops. We had
Yeah.
on the way there. We had. I had 2 cans of Pringles and 2 Boost bars. So that was my lunch.
Fighting
So
for the
rations.
Kaiser.
No, but yeah. We Jack did a live stream. Sorry, for those who don't know, the captain of the first battalion and our founder, Jack. He did a live stream on the first battalion Instagram page the other day, and he mentioned that we're going to be doing a next spring, hopefully when COVID's blown over and you can get back to normal. We're going to be doing a build day at our site, which is called the farm, or we call it a La Ferme, because it's French. We're going to be World War One-ifying our trench system, which has been dug by a farmer. We're going to be doing, just a bit more kind of like chill stuff like that, and hopefully we might be doing some ration stuff. I don't know. I'm not privy to that information just yet.
With rations, it's awesome. I love making myself some of the herb burst and the hardtack and whatnot. It's super fun when you're able to have the canned meat and all the different stuff, and like you're eating the type of food that they would have had back then after the battle. You're just kind of like,
a lot of canned meat.
Holy crap! This is what they lived
for breakfast. There was a lot of spam, bacon grill, I think it's called. And like I had like pork medallion for breakfast, kind of thing. It's like, thanks Americans coming with those rations.
So with the German stuff, they have those cans of like just the canned meat basically.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, how am I going to do this? Because all my stuff I would get from Repo Rations, which is a site that the dude who ran it retired because he's super old. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? I was in a grocery store and there's a literal cans of like canned roast beef, and I'm like, there I go. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
But and then
what is for breakfast? Meat. What meat is it? Meat.
That's literally what the Germans did late war. Is that they just had the whole the can was just Fleisch.
Yeah.
Just Fleisch, just because they ran out of pigs, so it was whatever they could get their hands on, and a lot of people suspect a lot of it was horse meat. So,
I mean, I don't know how aware you were, but in the UK a few years ago, we had one of our largest supermarket brands is Sainsbury's. There was I think it might have been Sainsbury's or Tesco. We had a scare where it was like it came out that a lot of the beef product was horse meat.
Yikes!
Yeah, on like a mass scale, and I was like, "Yo, horse meat do be kind of tasting kind of good though."
It's a little pasty.
Because obviously, in a lot of Western countries like the UK and America, horses aren't considered something you usually eat.
Yeah.
And that gets into the whole ethical thing of like when does it become food versus a pet kind of thing.
Yeah, depends on how bad society's broken down.
Yeah, exactly. But it gets to the point where it's like, so that's what horse tastes like. Fair enough. Fair play. Not fair enough. You're just gonna go. Okay.
I'm almost positive that TV dinners, the meat in there isn't anything other than like cheap horse meat or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. We don't really have that. We do have like ready meals, like microwave meals, but it's like I don't think it's quite the same thing as in America. I don't know. I could be wrong. The amount of times
I don't have enough experience with British foods.
The amount of times I've stopped a frozen lasagna before going to work is like uncountable.
Hey, frozen lasagna ain't bad though.
That's very true. We've got a brand here called Cook, which is like it's like shops. It's a brand, but it's like homemade cooked meals. People volunteer to make in kitchens. It's their job. They are a chef, a cook, and they send it and then distribute it. And we've got one in my town. And my next door neighbor is the lady that runs that shop in my town. So I'm like, yes. And their lasagna is just very good. Any British people, any English people watching, go get lasagna from Cook and tell me I'm wrong.
All right, so I think that we've gone a little bit over the time slot, which I wasn't sitting here thinking that we wouldn't. I fully expected us to go over the time slot, but
good.
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I'm just trying to figure out how we got from lighting the powder keg to horse meat.
Or no, it's even worse than that. We went from just World War I Airsoft to lighting the powder keg. to horse meat with gun right talk in the middle of it.
I mean, that's an average Thursday afternoon for me. What day is it today? It's Tuesday.
Average conversation between us.
Wednesday. Sorry.
It's Wednesday now.
It's Wednesday now. Yes. Yes. Actual closing remarks. I think it's really important to learn about history. I think anyone that's watching, you can't ever do too much research. There's always another story to be found. There's always another little tidbit of, that's actually pretty cool to learn about. And if I could give you any advice, it'd be to follow the Unraveled Angel Instagram and at the First Battalion Boys.
Links to those will be in the description.
Yeah. If you just, to any British people watching, we recruit mainly from mainland UK, Ireland. We've got 2 people from actual Germany, I think, but mainly it's mainland UK. Reach out to me, the First Time Boys, or Jack. He's our captain. And just hit us up. It's the coolest way to get recruited, and we're a cool bunch. Apart from Matt, he's a real bastard.
I'm gonna just save that on my phone and send that to him.
Sorry, yeah, great. Cheers.
Because if it's hidden in this long live stream, he'll never see it. But if I pick it out of there,
there we go. No, but yes, thank you very much for having me on. It's been a pleasure, as always.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's been.
I've got to quickly leave to end the stream, so I'm gonna have to go off screen for a bit.
Yeah,
and then I'll be.
Mate. Cheers.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for coming on. Hopefully we can do another live stream at some point. I'm sort of going through a lot of people right now. Next week is World War One Airsoft, actually. I was able to convince him to come on. So
there we go.
He'll be on next week. And then I'm thinking about starting up. I discussed this with the World War One collector, Michael.
Yes.
I discussed it with him a little bit. I'm doing I want to start a podcast where it's me and one other person. We just bring on guests and we just discuss things with the hobby and military and reenacting and all that stuff. Yeah. Similar to this, but it would replace this as a format so that instead of doing live streams and saving them as a podcast, and I'm able to spread it out, get more views.
Cool. Fair play. If I could chuck one more cheeky little shout out in here for something.
Go ahead.
It's that if you, dear listener, are itching for a podcast on World War One topics, then you can go to Instagram, YouTube, and find 1BB Dispatches, which is our podcast covering topics about airsoft, German shenanigans, and how much we hate the Tories. We really hate them.
I will have to link that in the description as well, because I completely blanked on that.
You're just gonna have like 5 or 6 links just for us.
Just a bunch of links, just like shilling for him.
Yeah. So if you're looking for something, please, we need more attention.
They need more love.
We need more love, as do you. So thank you once again for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Awesome. I'm glad I've been one of the people on your live streams, because I've been wanting to be on it for since episode 1 came out. I was like, seems cool.
I've been wanting to have you on since episode 1, but the stars didn't align until today. So
lovely. There you go.
And I didn't even think it was going to align this time, because usually I do it Sunday, but this weekend was going to be too hectic. So I figured, you know what, I will just do it before that, and then we'll skip this weekend, and then next weekend will be World War One Airsoft. So yeah, thank you for coming on. Hopefully I can have you on when I do the podcast and have that set up when that happens.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm gonna go in the live stream. Eventually I'll have a better setup where I'll have like a little board and way too in the future.
We'll get there.
I'll get there. All right.
Cheers.
Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you. Ta-ta.